Well, guys, I think I have to take responsibility for this one. I jinxed the Heat. I said they could beat the Bucks after game 1. Granted, my prediction was still the Bucks win this series. But my goodness, what was that? I mean, the obvious is, of course, the Bucks just had an insane outlier shooting game, especially in the first quarter. Bryn Forbes went nuts. Middleton, Drew had that pull-up. Giannis made one. And Connaughton had at least one where that was pretty contested. But even so, to me, the big thing was that the Heat didn't stop the initial drives. So it allowed the Bucks to get that drive and kick action going. And there was one time where they double-teamed Bobby Portis. Actually, they double-teamed Portis multiple times. And he got it to Giannis, and then Giannis got it to Forbes on a couple. And then eventually the wheels just fell off, and the threes were going crazy. But there were still other things amongst that. For whatever reason, Miami has just not been able to take advantage of Brook Lopez the way they did in last year's playoffs. I mean, last year between the Dragic-Bam pick and roll, the handoff action between Hero, Robinson, Dragic, and of course Bam being the facilitator there. Bam just at the top of the key and motion around that. And then just Jimmy creating something out of nothing sometimes. And sometimes it was transition. Other times it was going at one specific guy. And, they've had Giannis on Jimmy now. But Brook Lopez is just standing in front of the rim, and they just can't do anything about it. I mean, Bam was better in this game, sure. But Bam just looks so neutralized in this series. I mean, in game 1, Brook forced him into so many, hook shots and scoop shots and jumpers, and this one it's the same thing. And I mean, if you can't go at Brook and if you can't get him out of the paint, then it's like, what are you going to do? You're not going to score enough points unless you go nuts on jumpers, which they did in game 1, which was why they almost won that game. Now, I don't want to give all the credit to Brook Lopez. Like I mentioned, Giannis has been on Jimmy. I think that's affected Jimmy some. Drew is worlds better than Bledsoe. And again, I think the Bucks are doing a good job of collapsing into the paint. And, game 1, Miami went nuts from 3. Granted, some of it was like Dragic just making a contested 3 balls. But it just, man, Miami's offense has been so blah. I mean, all of the give and go and the reacting and the off-ball movement that just freaked the Bucks out so much in the last year, it's just not happening. And on the other end, when you go crazy from 3 like they did in this one, that's going to be it. And, you think about, we go to a game 3, and I still really believe, look, man, in the first couple minutes of game 1, they ran Duncan Robinson action, and Brook did not step up at all. And to me, you run that until they prove they're going to do something else. And you got to assume if they don't step up on Robinson, they probably don't step up on anybody on those actions. And I feel like you could take advantage of those types of things. I think there's also a conversation of, do you start someone else? Whether it's Dragic and Kendrick Nunn, whether it's Tyler Hero and pulling Ariza, or just something to give your offense a little bit more juice. Because it just seems right now like there's so many stretches where Jimmy just has to create something. And yeah, it was similar to that last year, but they had other things to go to, whereas now it suddenly just seems like unless Jimmy is going to be great, they've got kind of nothing else. I mean, some of that is Kendrick Nunn just missing his pull-up jumpers and all that, but I don't know, man. I was feeling pretty good about Miami. I thought they had a decent chance of winning this game, even if I thought the Bucks were still going to win the series. But after this one, I got no clue. Now, that all this said, it does happen pretty regularly in the NBA where the home team wins the first 2, they go on the road, and then the other home team wins the next 2, and then usually the better team ends up winning game 6 on the road. So we'll see if Miami can do that. But I'm just remembering all the things that worked so well last season. It's not happening now. I mean, there was one moment where Dwayne Dedmon hit a 3, and Brook Lopez didn't cover him, and it made me remember, oh yeah, Kelly Olynyk actually was kind of useful in some of his minutes against Brook Lopez last season. Not that I'm blaming them for trading Olynyk. I mean, they made a swing at Oladipo, and I would have done that too. The other things were, Tyler Hero, they trusted more last season, clearly. I mean, he's not starting for them now. Dragic was younger and more consistent, even if he made some threes in game one. So they just might not have the guys. That might be it. I think for this Miami team, given how much they struggled on offense throughout the year, maybe their one real chance was just Oladipo getting back to something like what he once was in Indiana. And, well, of course, they don't have Oladipo. So, yeah, again, maybe there's some adjustments to make with the starting five. Maybe they have to get a little more ruthless with just attacking a mismatch every single possession. And again, you got to get Brook Lopez out of the paint. They did it so well a year ago, and they just can't seem to do it much right now. So anyway, honestly, I'm just thinking about the next round for the Bucks. I think that is pretty much where this series is at for me now. Not saying Miami can't win a game, but, I mean, come on. So, to think about the next round, of course, the prediction will happen when it comes, but thinking about what the Bucks have done in this series and how they're going to use it against the Nets, the switching more, you're going to have to do it. I mean, good luck playing conventional, like, collapse and close out and hedging defense and all that against Harden, Kyrie, and KD. I just don't think it's possible, especially when Joe Harris is the fourth guy. So then you're going to have to switch more. They've been willing to do that. They've had some willingness to go to Giannis at center or Bobby Portis. I think the Nets could really test having Brook Lopez out there. And we'll just see. I think Budenholzer really loves having Lopez out there. And, well, I mean, even if Budenholzer so far has done a better job of adjusting, we'll see if the Nets can like really push them to the brink with that sort of thing. The other obvious thing is that Giannis just might score 100 points inside against the Nets. I don't want to disrespect Miami too much, but I mean, I basically just started talking about the next series, so that's pretty much where I'm at on this one. I mean, the only world in which Miami can come back is if Jimmy and Bam just really get it going, and especially Jimmy. I mean, they have totally had his number throughout the first two games of this thing. And if it was just one game, you could be like, you know, a bad game, it happens. 2 games in a row? No, it's the game plan at that point. I mean, sure, Duncan Robinson and whoever else almost bailed him out of game 1, but that wasn't going to happen 2 times in a row. Now, that said, I'm expecting game 3 to be really competitive. This Heat team is probably going to throw whatever they've got between the zone defense and just being aggressive as hell and attacking the glass. And the Bucks they're definitely going to have to earn going up 3-0 in this series. And just before I get out of here, I want to say Lakers and Clippers are on at the same time tomorrow. What the hell is that? NBA scheduling people? Come on. Excuse me?